Hello everyone, Adam here from Three Camp Radio, and today we are doing something that is little bit different. Something I've been wanting to do for a while, to be honest, but um, not really got around to it. I've touched upon it in the past. I've touched upon it with Scotty Rourke and different people in the past. Um, but I've got the main man, Ste Bibby, here with me to talk about mental health in wrestling, mental health in general. How are you doing, my friend? As I ask you as you take a drink.
Um, well, that's combating the tiredness. Very tired. A lot of work going on, but overall fairly good. Fairly good for now. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it, my friend. I'm glad to hear it. So, yeah, you and I wanted to talk about this for a bit. It's been the fact of getting around to do it. It's a strong subject for you, isn't it? Mental health.
It is because it has such a hold over your day to day,
Yeah.
and I think the more it's acknowledged and the more we accept it as being a big part of us, the easier things get, I think. So the more we talk about it, the better. It is a very important subject to me, and it's sort of increased in its importance over the years.
Yeah. And there are plenty of different triggers. So, like with mental health, it's so individual to that person, to that one person. That one person could be struggling with mental health for a plethora of different reasons to somebody else. But in my opinion, I think it's about making that effort because you might not. And empathy is a massive deal in mental health. Empathy is huge, but you might not have gone through what that person's going through. So it's, in my opinion, about making an effort to just maybe listen if someone sends you a message. Just listen, and if they need you, you're there.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that I've sort of struggled with over the years, because I've I'm very blessed and gifted with a nice home life and parents and family and everything. So you have that kind of guilt about, well, I shouldn't feel like this, and that almost ironically that's a double-edged sword. You know, you feel guilty for feeling bad, which makes you feel worse. So I do agree that, you know, to listen to people, you know, situations, everyone's situations are different. One person's bad day at work is different to your bad day at work, but they're both bad days. And it's the same goes with mental health. I think we all feel things for different reasons, and sometimes we don't even know what those reasons are, which is equally frustrating. So I think it is important, like you said. I think empathy is a big trait that people should embrace nowadays. Definitely.
Yeah. When I did my first course I did a level two on counseling. I was sent a video, and it was empathy versus sympathy, and a lot of people do seem to. I think it's innocent. It's very innocent because a lot of people seem to think both are the same thing. So it's no problem. But I saw a video, and there's a hole with a ladder, and there's a person like cowering in a corner, um, like scared. And the sympathy walks by and goes, "Oh, are you okay? Oh no, would you like a sandwich?" And then walks by. Whereas empathy would walk down
And drag them
the
out.
stairs and sit with them and
Right, right, yeah.
listen to them. Because if someone's hurt them, have knowing somebody else is there that struggling as well, just one person, it can make the world of difference. But in my eyes, a difference between the two words, between sympathy and empathy. I'm not saying you shouldn't have sympathy for people, but I'm saying empathy is such a strong, strong,
I
strong
think
emotion.
I think empathy takes more effort.
Mhm.
Empathy empathy is really taking the time to understand something as opposed to acknowledging it. I think that's the difference between the two.
Yeah.
I think you're born with sort of an immediate sense of sympathy towards situations. I think empathy is something you grow into over time.
Yeah. And you need to, of course, you need to have gone through what that person
Yeah,
has gone through themselves to then show empathy towards that person. But it's of course, as I've said, but I've counselling is something I do want to go through because recently I've not been doing well myself.
mm.
So I want to go into counselling because even if it's just a little change, even if it's just that much of a change, I want to help people so they're not going through what I'm feeling right now, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, I agree with that. I mean, that's the reason I made the mental health video diary on
Yes,
Facebook. Initially, it was to get it off my chest and to speak, but then I realized that people were actually watching them and people were taking something from them. So then it became not only my fight but everybody else's. Now I sort of was trying to help and others and help myself at the same time. And I completely agree with that. I think as well, if you go into a field like counselling, you try and become involved in helping others. It's a big therapy for yourself.
it is. It really is because you can get that kind of second-hand um, achievement, I kind of knowing that you've helped somebody. And I've always said myself that when you've helped someone and truly, truly helped someone, you haven't just helped that person, you've helped the immediate family around them, you've helped their friends around them, you've helped such a large group of people because of the worry that they'll have knowing that that person is going through something, but you can't always help them. That sometimes they need to seek counseling, sometimes they need it depends on how far they are, it depends on what they're going through. That you know this person's going through something, but sometimes some people don't know how to approach it.
Yeah. Well, you were right in the sense that you said that even if it's a small change, it makes a difference. I've been to counselling and psychotherapy and various things, and sometimes you do hear one thing that sticks with you,
Yeah.
even if overall it might not have worked the way you like. Something in there will stick with you that you can use, and obviously, you've got to become more seasoned. And through the years in order to finally go, oh well, now all this knowledge and wisdom is in me, I can start fighting this a bit harder, because I've struggled with depression and anxiety since I was 19, so that's 17 years now. I've had that, and a lot of it was initially you sort of go through a strange phase when you're in your like leaving your teens into your 20s anyway, so I kind of sort of brushed it under the carpet then, didn't see much wrong with me in that sense. But then it was only when I started getting older and like I said, my home life was fine, but my relationships were just one after the other disastrous, and for many different reasons. And because of that, it just grew and grew and grew, and I never made any progress. But I did gain a lot of strength, and that's now why I'm able to talk about it. Back then, I would there's no way I would have sat down and even for 2 minutes and discussed this kind of thing. I don't find it even remotely challenging anymore, and I'd like to think that by talking about it, other people can do the same. You know, I hate to think that, because bottling it up and hiding behind it is one of the worst things in the world, because it just grows and grows inside you until it becomes unbearable.
There's another man was very strange. I've got 3 books of his here. But Sigmund Freud, he coined the term displacement. And
Mm.
if you were to bottle things up, sometimes it comes naturally. Sometimes that's how certain people deal with their emotions, which isn't the best. It isn't great, but sometimes that's how certain people's pathology works. But if you were to bottle something up and bottle something up and bottle something up, you can lash out at certain people who are only trying to help, and that is Freudian displacement. But it's just that can be how certain people's pathology works, and it is a shame. But they can get so up in their own head, because what a lot of people don't seem to realize is it's like a recurring reel inside your own head that you try to tell yourself something. You're wondering why you're feeling this way. You don't want to feel this way, but you are feeling this way. You shouldn't be feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? And then there's the cause, there's the catalyst of why you're feeling that way. It's all up there. And there's a few people I know who don't feel that they benefit from counselling because of their own pathology. Like they deal with things in a different manner and a
Yeah,
different way.
which is understandable. I mean, you
Perfectly,
can
yeah.
you do whatever works for you. I mean, I've tried various methods and I haven't found them that they work entirely. They might work a little, which I use those benefits, but I've found at the moment I seem to be coping with this better, and I think that just might be because I've got years on my side and a lot behind me. I imagine with yourself it would be sort of like what you've got there, the setup with these podcasts and everything that you do would be a nice way of channeling any bad feelings you might have. And you have a lot of interest as well, I've noticed. So that I always think as well, just what you enjoy doing, just home in on that. But you're right, you can't help sometimes how you react to certain things. I think your head's like a carousel and it's just trying to slow it down, so you can catch each thing as it goes round and deal with it rather than it whizzing by and you're not being able to function. I've found as well, like, you can't help your brain's reaction to something or your head's reaction to something, much like a phobia. You see a spider or you get up to a high place and you immediately, I don't like this. I don't like this. For example, certainly with the business I'm in, which you are certainly familiar with, I'll not lie. I think about getting out of it at least twice a month. And that's purely because my reaction to things, my immediate reaction to something negative, say something on a show hasn't gone well, or I've not made a very good decision, or something has gone wrong with the academy or anything like that, I immediately think, I'm not cut out for this business. I'm not cut out to do this. I'd be better off without it. I'd be better off without the pressures. I just want an easy life, and I automatically want to quit. And one of the hardest things to do is try and change that immediate mindset. So I think in some way, reason I'm bringing that up is because I think it's a comfort to know that it's hard to control your immediate thoughts. So you shouldn't put too much pressure on yourself to try and change how you immediately feel, because that is you.
Yeah. It just takes work to fight that, because we have we all know there's fight or flight, but there's also freeze as well. That's one thing. That's one that a lot of people don't seem to think about that as much. And that the third one is me. If there's like fear, I seem to just freeze up. It's like, and that's me done. But with LWF, and to a certain degree, as you said, with me and my podcast, we've channeled something into what we love. And you've cultivated a family at LWF. You've cultivated something at LWF that because I always say blood doesn't make family.
No, not at
So
all.
like my mum's side of the family, they simply the best. I love everyone in my mum's side of the family are just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But there's a reason why you haven't seen my dad or anyone on this side. And man, is put it perfectly bluntly, the man is an absolute bastard. But
Yeah,
so blood doesn't make family.
not at all. That's just, it's a technicality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard people say like, oh, but he's your dad. It's like, so like he lost his. I won't go into it, but he lost his right to be called that. Like,
Yeah.
if you're like, if you're good friends with someone, and I mean you've been there since day one. I've got people I can call brothers. I've got people I can call sisters.
Yeah.
They don't need to be blood because I know they're there for me. I've been going for the past 2 months. I have been through hell and back. It's been awful. It's been horrible. I've missed a few LWF shows, which isn't like me. I've had people reaching out, asking
Good
if I'm
reason.
all right, and it's not been good. But the fact that I've had people reaching out, like people have, I had someone because I live in Wigan. I had someone because I told her what was going on. She took the train from Warrington, came to mine for the day, and then went home just to see if I was okay. And I had someone who was at work till 10 in the evening drive up to mine, and even if she was only there for about 10 minutes, I don't know how long she was there for. She made the effort.
See, that says a lot about. I mean, when you think about, I'm not a big fan of people saying, "I'll just think positively," because that's a hell of a lot easier said than done. But that's a blessing that you've created yourself. You have got people that look at that want to know how you are and want to make sure that you're all right and will go out the way because of what you've created. That's a man-made blessing, and pretty big testament to you, really. And I think that's what we all strive to be is thought of on that scale.
Yeah.
You know, we all crave approbation on some level, but that's like it's a big deal to have that kind of support network. But you can only build that by the type of person that you are.
Yeah. It's flattering. It's extremely flattering to get
Humbling
like
that way.
yeah, humbling. Yeah, because it's amazing. Like you also almost feel like you don't deserve it every now and then. These people are going out to see me, but like you also have to take a step back and feel like you deserve it. Yeah, you need it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You take a step back because your immediate, again, it goes back to that. Your immediate thought process is, I don't deserve it. Then you stop and think, well, why don't I?
Yeah.
But then it becomes, well, yeah, I do. To be fair, you know, because I've not, you're not push these people away. You've always given them time, and they're just giving it back to you. And when you look at it, it's really simple sums, but it's that immediate thought that if you hang on to that immediate thought, sometimes it can be the worst thing.
It is. It's yeah, perfectly put. Because it's instant. The human mind, unless you're a narcissist, but the human mind.
Known a few of them.
So do I. It's instant. It's natural for you to think I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. It's just instant thing straight away up there that I'm not good enough. Why are you doing this for me when you could do this for somebody else that you look up to? But then if you think you should be doing this for somebody that I look up to, but you don't stop to think that that person might possibly look up to you.
Yeah, you don't put yourself in that position. I've got to ask one thing. I mean, I'll share mine as well. But how do you cope when it does get too much? What's the mechanism, the immediate coping mechanism? Doesn't necessarily have to be a good one, but what's the immediate reaction?
Well, there's been a lot of that recently. Like certain family issues recently. Of course, I don't want to go too much into that.
No, of course, no.
Lock myself off, kind of. Well, immediate talk. My immediate. I've always thought myself off because it's quite weird because I have two, but it depends on how I'm feeling at the time. I have two. Majority of the time, I message people, telling them, and that's not like attention. When I say messaging people, I mean I message people so that I know that at that point I have an outlet and I can talk, because that's possibly, it's not the healthiest thing to do, is to talk. And I've kind of thought myself as blessed to have that as an instant outlet, because not a lot of people do.
Well, messaging people is one step, probably not as easy as talking about it out loud is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
But to send a message as an immediate response to sort of ask for support or say this is how I am, that's very, very nearly as difficult.
It is.
So that's quite a gift, really.
It is, yeah. It's yeah. I've always seemed to just go like, write a message, this message straight away, because I've always felt like I need an outlet, or else it'll just fester inside me. But another one is to be alone with my own thoughts for a bit, and it's happened quite recently because me and my mum, will sit here and I'll be on here and we'll just chat for ages. We're very, very, me and my mum are very close, as you've seen at the shows.
Yeah.
But sometimes because depression can do this. Depression can make you, how do I put it? It can make you get angry at or frustrated at the company of those you love, because you want to be alone. So sometimes I'll have to, I don't want to tell my mum to leave the room because she's my mum. I want to spend time with her, but I want to be alone, and she's not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
But I just want to be alone, and as soon as she's left, as soon as that door's closed, it's like a ball just rolled off me, and I'm fine. I can just breathe, and it's not necessarily. It isn't her. It could be anybody sitting here. Anyone.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Anyone at all. You just need that breathing space, just to take a breath and feel like there's no one. I guess it could possibly be that you think that person's judging you, or you need just time, something just to be alone. I don't know, but yeah, those are two instant ones for me, but it depends on the mood.
I do think you try to trust your own, even though your head message with you in these instances, you do sort of trust it still. It can't be two person to a shield. You've got to hold that up and stand behind it, and then when you're ready to come out. And I think that's just what it is. It's never a personal thing, certainly not. But it's not. That's totally normal to want to put the walls up for a bit, and the solitude that's a very, very frequent way of dealing with depression. It has been for me before, to be fair. I don't particularly like my own company. I'm still working on that. But I do prefer sort of just shutting myself away when it gets way too much. I tend to want to sleep. I tend to like to sleep so I don't have to be awake. I've done that quite a lot.
That's it. I did that not long ago, and it scared me, the thought. scared me.
But that's
Yeah.
again, it's not uncommon. You know, it's not like you're not completely abnormal for being like that. Sometimes you think if you sleep, you'll wake up feeling better, so you take that chance. And you should never regret feeling anything that's actually an attempt to improve things. So, but I mean, I coped with things for years, and I mean, I'm still not completely out of the woods on this, but I did nothing but cope with it by drinking, because I absolutely abused alcohol far more frequently and incessantly than I'd like to admit, or can even remember sometimes. And that was my coping mechanism. The first, if things started getting bad, the cabinet had come open. If I was out in the wrong headspace, it would be one after the other, after the other, after the other. And I would end up in shop doorways and side of the road and things like that. And you sort of start opening your eyes and realizing just how much danger you're putting yourself in. But I never stopped. Well, apart from a couple of attempts, and then I realized it wasn't the answer, but I never stopped drinking entirely, because I knew that I actually enjoy a drink. I love going out for a couple of beers. I like a glass of wine. I like a good rum. And I thought, if I do that, I take away the thing I enjoy, and I don't fix all the things around it that are actually causing me not to enjoy it. So instead of stopping doing the thing I enjoy, I end up going, right, let's get in a good headspace. Let's try and work out all the problems I've got up there so I can enjoy that again. And that was my coping mechanism for ages, was just getting blind drunk. And it's nowhere near as bad anymore. It's not even, it rears its ugly head every once in a while, but I'm talking like it's very, very infrequent now. But I'm talking like all the way through my 20s and up to about maybe a year or two ago. That's a lot of time spent abusing something you actually enjoy doing. That was my way of doing it. And obviously because of that, I ended up being like ashamed to see people. So I would then go back to what you spoke about, which was locking myself away. So it's a lot of this comes full circle. And I think a lot of people feel alone because they feel like nobody else feels what they do and nobody else deals with it the way they do. And you'd be surprised, I think, to find just how many people deal with depression and anxiety in the same way. And in addition, depression and anxiety go hand in hand, because one follows the other usually.
Yeah.
Usually get depressed after you feel anxious because it's a come down. And then anxiety ends up turning into things like I spoke about, like going out and self-destructing, and then you go back to the depression again and you swing back and forth.
Yeah, they have a
thing, but
I've
and
got
very difficult to spell in a business like this as well, when you've got to be so professional and grounded and level-headed. It's very difficult.
to a degree. Yeah, I understand with the last part, but it's also don't forget that you can let people in with that. It's like, I understand the position you're in. You're the owner of IWF, and it's a fantastic show, but you can also let people in if you are feeling, because I've had you. I know you've come over to me a few times, telling me you felt anxious about and asked me about the show, and you don't.
Monthly.
Yeah, just think like it's something you don't need to worry about. Easier said than done, but yeah, it's about letting people in. Like with drink, that's one thing I consider myself massively lucky with. I've never been a drinker, so that's something on my end I'm very lucky with.
Yeah.
But I suffer with nocturnal epilepsy, so it kind of goes hand in hand. Epilepsy and depression, anxiety, kind of
Well,
all
definitely with
linked up.
anxiety
So
because of the worry. Yeah, I get that.
so yeah, back when I was in college, I did 3 years rather than your average two because I got an E in maths in high school. So instantly, because of one test paper, I'm instantly terrible at maths apparently. So yeah, there's that. But
We all have a bad day.
in the third year, my final year of college, that was when I really started to hit rock bottom. Um, there was there was a senior tutor there. Yeah, my final year of college, the senior tutor would be on my case on my back over and over and over because I had about 50% attendance, which isn't great, but when you factor in I have epilepsy, which back then wasn't as controlled as it is now, anxiety and depression, because the anxiety and depression is caused by the epilepsy keeping
Yeah,
me off college, and then just that over and over.
that vicious circle, as
She
mentioned.
was, yeah, exactly. She was on my back to the point where I had to tell I felt like I had to tell my business teachers what she was saying to me, because she was basically saying, if you don't get your self straight, we're gonna have to kick you out. And then she sent a letter home to my mum. She's gonna get heavy. Yeah, she sent a letter home to my mum saying we're gonna have to kick him out if he doesn't get get himself straight. So I had her on my back as well, which is disgusting because I was seeing a college counselor at the time as well, who was putting words in my mouth rather than helping me. So that's what I don't. I want to be the opposite of that. So that's another catalyst for me wanting to become a counselor, because I want to be the complete opposite of that.
You want to undo that, almost
Exactly.
record over it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was 10 a.m. on a Monday. I went into the counselling, and my senior tutor was on my back, shouting at me. And she said, because I said to my business tutors what she said to me, and she dragged me out of photography, took me into an empty classroom with my business tutors, and said, and for about 10 minutes, just laced into me, saying, I didn't say this to you. I didn't say any of that to you. What are you talking about? You're chatting shit, this, that, the other. But she sent a letter home to my mum saying the exact opposite of what she's bollocking me for. So I felt backed into a corner. I didn't. What do you say? So, 10 a.m. Monday, I went into counselling and just started crying because the night before I felt the night before I barely slept because I knew downstairs they were in the kitchen. There were certain ways I could just end it.
Yeah.
And I attempted to at one point. With pills, backed out at the last second. But that's when I went into. I think that's the point. I think I went into CBT. But
was certainly as good a time as any.
I think it is. I might be wrong. But that same day, I went into a room because they were going to send me home. I wasn't fit to go into college that day. They were going to send me home. So they said, "Do you want to call your mom?" I said, "Yeah." Usually with you, but if anybody, usually that means, okay, we're gonna call your mom. She's gonna pick you up and take you home. My senior tutor rang her and told her over the phone that your son's having these thoughts. Over the phone.
That's sort of an in-person thing, that really, isn't it?
Absolutely disgusting. She was fuming.
These sort of factors are what mount these issues up, really. And they stay with you.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. They stick with you because it's it's trauma because something like I say, it is something I do tell a lot of people. No matter how big or small you see your own experiences, it is if it sticks with you, it changes the way you look at a certain situation, and you go there rather than
Mm.
through. It's trauma.
Oh yeah, big or small, trauma is trauma.
Hmm.
No, it changes you in any way, then it's a big deal. In terms of what you said about those kind of thoughts, I've never attempted, nor have I thought of doing it. But the one thing that actually sort of scared me the most was I understood why people did, and that was enough for me. I've never had those thoughts purely because obviously I've got a son, and you know I'm that very proud of him, and I certainly wouldn't want to do anything that's going to affect his life. And I think that a lot of people think like that about the closest relations anyway when it comes to that kind of thing. But it just depends if you become so detached from the world and from everyone around you. Anything is possible, and again, it's something that is totally understandable. It's and misunderstood, I think, in terms of just how far you've got to be down there to feel like that.
Yeah, it's it certainly takes a lot of misunderstanding from a very influential people in your life. Because with her being so high up where she was in that college, she's an influential person. But it simple as that. And for her to have treated not just me but anybody, for her to think she could treat anybody that way, and to be in the position she's in that college, I think is absolutely disgusting.
I I think one comfort you've got to take, Adam, is that most people in influential positions nowadays, that's nothing to shout about. You know, because there's a lot of influencing people out there nowadays that don't do a whole lot of good for anybody. So, however high up you are, if you don't have any humanity about you, then who gives a shit how high you are? That's how I look at it. And certainly, nobody influences me. Only good people influence me.
Yeah, yeah. You see these quote unquote influencers, and it is sad that they've got a massive following of people who genuinely get influenced by these people, and you think,
Yeah,
why?
they just get
But
toxic.
yeah,
That's what they do, and and that's how we are. Unfortunately, a lot of my current depressiveness, not that it's anything like it has been, but a lot of it comes now from society and the way I see things, people going, and how the modern generation behaves. There's a lot of the reasons why I get so down about things, but I'm sort of learning now just to sort of look at my own path, stay on my path, don't stare out into what's going on either side of it. I'm just going to forward. That's how I look at it now, because I have to, And again, it's easier said than done, but the more you talk about doing it and you tell yourself the reasons why you're doing it, then it becomes easier.
yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I do get either sad or wound up or somewhere in between with how where society is right now and what people. I mean, sorry, what people look up to, who people look up to, and where we're going. And but at the same time, it's such a mass number of people that like, there's no reason for us to really focus on it because there's nothing we can do right now about it.
No,
Unfortunately,
no.
it's a shame, but it is. It is what it is. So,
All you can do is change things to make your life better and those around you. But I always say, be the change you want to see in the world.
yeah,
And that doesn't necessarily mean go out there and try and take it over or try and influence society. It just means look at what's around you and improve it, and yourself at the same time. And that's your world. You know, the rest of it outside, well, if it wants to screw itself up, then it's not your concern, really. Look after number one and all those in your closer circle.
I agree. There's literally zero reason to be an arsehole in this world. There's zero reason for you not to be nice. Like, I don't get it. Like, honestly, with the profession you're in, and with how I'm involved in that as a fan right now, wrestling is it's an escape for so many people, and it's something I love. It's something I absolutely love. And I was on the phone to my boss yesterday, and even she was acknowledging even she was acknowledging and felt sorry for me that I've not been able to fulfill my hobbies as well recently.
Yeah.
And for her to acknowledge it, it shows how she knows how much I love wrestling in general, and take the piss every now and then, which is great, but it's great. But you need an escape in the world to escape from toxicity that around you, all around you. Toxicity is all around you. You do sometimes need an escape, and to help your mental health, wrestling being that escape is phenomenal to me.
It should be an escape, and I mean, I want to enjoy it more. I need to get that mentality. I need to improve my mentality in terms of how I look at this job.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's because, I don't, make anything from this. I'm not financially gaining it, which means I'm not stable and all that kind of stuff. But I'm starting to realize that I've got to be patient. The only people that get handed a shit ton of money in this world are usually people that don't know how to use it and don't deserve it. So I'd rather work and earn it over time. That's a bigger reward to me. But this is an escape, because if I wasn't running a wrestling promotion, I'd be out every weekend and not really having a whole lot to tell my grandkids in the future. So I suppose it makes sense that it makes sense to carry on this path, even if sometimes I don't get the reward from it that I'd like. I think I've got to start thinking of it more as a story to tell, really.
Yeah, I like that. Life moves forward, and you've got to think about what you can tell your kids and your grandkids, and what the model that you can be for them. And I don't know where I don't know where my life will be. How I'm gonna put this. I don't know where and when I'm going to have children. I'm not certain. Right now, it's not on my radar. But I'd love to, especially as I said earlier with my dad, I'd love to be a model parent. I'd love to be there. I'd love to make the memories that they want, that they crave, because my God, the memories I've got with my mom, I just
that's it. So you've got that so template already. Yeah. It's a good thing. I mean, all I want to do is sort of look back and go, I did that. I made that, and I created that. And to be honest, I can do that sort of to a degree already, but at times I don't think about that. I don't think about how well I'm doing or the good things I'm doing. I just think about the fact that I'm not stable and I'm not comfortable. And I think that's something I'm working on, because that's a form of that's a mental health issue in itself, because I'm not appreciating the good things because I'm too focused on the negatives. It's hard to get out of that mindset, and I'm still doing it, but I'll keep talking about it until it goes away.
Good. And your video diaries as well, the strength it must have taken to start them, but once you get into the rhythm of doing them, it gets better and better and better. The strength it must take, I admire it myself.
Well, you've pretty much done it today, to be honest.
True.
You take me out of that little inset in the corner. If you take me out of one side of this discussion, you've pretty much just done a video diary yourself. So, well done.
Yeah, and I was extremely nervous beforehand because I might not look it, but I'm far from 100%. I'm very nervous, but I'm happy we've done it. I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's been I'm hoping someone takes something from it. I would like something to take something from this.
I think they will, because I mean, I'm talking as a promoter, but I know that there's probably talent out there that, you know, they have sort of one bad match or something, or one mistake they make, and they automatically think that, you know, that the confidence takes a huge hit, and then think it only takes that little thing for things to spiral, that sort of thing. And whether you're a performer or a businessman or a creative or anything like that, you lose confidence, and you lose belief, and you basically lose what you enjoy. And I'd like to think that this will do a bit of good. One person being changed or influenced in a good way from this is good enough, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I always say myself, like, you know, if you see a wrestler who might be a little bit green, might not be as seasoned as other professional wrestlers, I always say, like, to other people, wrestlers learn by doing in front of those fans. There's no training. There is training, of course, but in front of fans, legitimate fans at a show, there's no training for that. So they learn by doing. All you can do is support, and just don't be a dick. Just support. They'll get there. I've seen the journey of so many wrestlers, and to see them from the start to where they are now is just incredible to me. I love that. That's something I can take here, because seeing someone from the very beginning is amazing. So all you can do is support,
and that's pretty much the word, isn't it? Support. Because effectively this video today was just sort of a little bit of I don't know, a support attempt.
Yeah,
throwing it out there for anybody that wants to talk about this, or wants to just listen to somebody else talk about it, because maybe they don't like to or don't feel comfortable with. But I've never found this, ever since the first diary I did, I've never found this difficult to talk about, because I write a diary and I write down a lot of my thoughts anyway, but to actually speak them, it's a lot easier, I find. It's just, but I suppose, you know, everyone's different, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Great thing. So if everybody's the same, the world would be boring.
Exactly. Trying to avoid that that robotic thing. But yeah, I'm glad I've had the discussion. It's been nice to sort of home in on things like that, and hopefully, like you said, it'll have a positive influence, more widespread.
Yes, hopefully so. I do hope so. And thank you for joining me.
No problem. My pleasure.
Thank you everyone for listening. Bye-bye.